It is the final race of the day, the final race of the weekend, not only for the Children's of Alabama Grand Prix weekend, but also for the Porsche Sprint Challenge North America by Yokohama. This is GT3. Hi, everybody. I'm Jeremy Scott. Joe Peak will be joining me topside momentarily as we get started for the first of two pace laps at the Alabama roller coaster. Once again, I want to thank each and every one of you who are still sticking around with us here at Barber Motorsports Park. And if you're watching us on Porsche Motorsports North America YouTube channel, as well as on Flow Racing, we thank you for watching round two, race two in Alabama. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for this field. A stout field of drivers is Jared Thomas, looking to go 4 for 4 today. He'll be alongside the 271 of Paul Bocuse. Efren Castro and Ashley Freiberg make up row 2. In row 3, it's a 245 of Scott Blend. He's your Masters leader, followed by Joel Johnson in the 227. We go back to row 4. It's a 261 of Peter Atwater and the 253 of Rob Walker. Row 5 sees Jody Miller and Charlie Peter. Peter, your 991 leader, the 166. That's a great story in and of itself. We'll talk more about that here throughout the day. Then we go back to row number 6. John Gilliland in the Cow Porsche alongside Mark Bowden. You may recognize that name as he's raced here many times in the Fall Line Porsche. Therese Lelou and Niels Meissner make up row 13. Lelou in the Pro-Am class. Jake Peterson and Conrad Geiss in row number 8. Row 9 is Mike Mim and Tony Melito. Mim is World Traveler racing in Porsche, but this is his first time in the 992 class. That's Shane Leathers in the 275, and Dan Ammon made it. He's in the 268. Row 11, Frank Vitello and Grady Willingham in the 201. Then you go back to Chris Sewell and Pat Womack. Womack, I talked to him today. He said he was excited moving up 5 positions at a track he's never been to. John Manship and Alessandro Chiacchetti make up row number 13. Chiacchetti in the 249. Eric Lapp of the 297, and Craig Conway, last time he was here, he was in the Pilot Challenge in an ST Mini. That's Tom Herb and Francisco De Jesus in row number 15 as the field working their second pace lap. And all alone on row number 16, Greg Shermer in the 149. So 31 cars making the start here in today's race. It's a full field of GT3 cars, and if you are here at the track, you can tell them apart. The Pro-Am, so drivers 49 years and younger, they will be in the black number boards on their doors and the black wingtips. The Masters for 50 or older drivers in the 992 category will be in the blue number boards or blue wingtips. Also, 991 cars will have the red number boards and red and wingtips on the back. And if you're looking at the scoring pylon, the 992s will start with a 2 on the left, and the 991s will have a 1 on the left number. Looking at the field warming up, there's Jared Thomas. He is our points leader. He's won 3 straight so far. Had a dominating lead yesterday's race. We'll see if that can continue. Little bit less heat in the track surface today, although it is a little bit hotter as well. 39.9 degrees Celsius is the track temperature. Wind about 15 miles an hour. It's a little bit more humid than I remember it yesterday as well. The field will start forming up here momentarily, making their way through the back portion of the circuit. Glad to have you with us here at the racetrack. And De Jesus kind of falling back as the field pairs up along the final couple of corners here at Barber Motorsports Park. A beautiful sight, seeing 992s and 991s side by side. They start to pick up speed. It's Jared Thomas in the 296, Paul Bocuse in the 271. Eyes on the starter as we begin the second race. Now, green flag is out, and Jared Thomas with a jump. Castro, they'll try to go to the inside of Bocuse. Down side by side in turn number 1. Bocuse still on the outside. He's going to try and make that pass stick, as everybody so far so good through that first couple of corners. As the field coming off of turn number 4, it's Jared Thomas with the early advantage. Castro's fallen back a couple of spots. He's up to 4th place right now. As once again, Joe Jared Thomas making easy work of the lead as we're side by side near the back. One car is actually spun. That is the number 210 of Jody Miller.
Miller going to go all the way to the back of the field. Unfortunately, he will get it turned around. At least the car is still going.
Well, turn on race control.
Continuing, turn 6 is clear.
Morgan Healy, the voice of race control. You'll hear her throughout the broadcast, and she'll give us what's going on in and around the circuit as the field working their way around once again. As we see Bocuse and Freiberg 2 and 3. I did talk to the MDK team, and they were hoping to get Freiberg around Castro as they have Blend. Wow, look at that couple of tires off to the right as he's trying to get that lead back in Masters from Joel Johnson.
Got to be careful about that going through 12.
Oh, there's looks like Walker and Blend have made contact in turn number 15.
And 245 off-course
That's two
drivers
of our
left
podium
to turn
sitters
15.
from the last race. So they are probably not going to be able to repeat that this time. I'm not sure if they'll be able to get going. It does look like they at least made contact with one another, but not the wall.
So we'll see if they can keep going here. We'll listen to race control. And
two cars remain drivers left exit to turn 15.
so I have a feeling that those two cars are going to be stuck there. Usually those two drivers are really good at getting back going, so would not be surprised if we go full course yellow here momentarily, but we're still watching this battle for second place. And look at Charlie Peter going just a little bit wide, trying to defend off of Mark Bowden in the 246.
Yeah, and that's a battle outside of two different classes.
All right, these cars are attempting to continue.
The 911 and Bowden, of course, in the Masters
Full course
992.
yellow, full course yellow, full course yellow. We need our leader, car 296 at safety car speed, please. Car 296, safety car speed. We are full course yellow.
And as you heard, full course yellow, there was also one car near the back that went off course. We're not sure which one that is.
We are full course yellow, everyone. Car 296, safety car speed, please.
I like how she got one car in the back that's actually making some passes there. That looked like that could have been the 285. Jake, not sure who it is. We'll get confirmation here as we do see Walker trying to continue.
Car 253 is continuing on its own. Car 245 remains.
Yeah, and still the hazards flashing for Blend. Unfortunately, Walker at least being able to get it underway. The good news for Scott Blend is that if he is stuck, he's right next to the Porsche hospitality tent.
He can walk over and enjoy himself. I know he's got a lot of friends and family here with the Ruckus Racing shirt, so not the best way to end. And yeah, that looks like Jake, the 285 may have made a pass under yellow, it looks like, under on the back straight. We'll see if we can get some confirmation of that. But interesting to note that Walker now in the pits in his Herbie the Love Bug liveried car as the JTR Motorsports engineering crew.
Ooh, they threw a big piece
All right,
away.
everyone, track services is in motion to the 245.
There might be some serious damage that we weren't able to see from our angle there. They definitely are focusing on the right front right now, which is on the opposite side of our booth, unfortunately, but they do look to be very concerned about what has happened up there. They're going to try their best to make sure that Herbie rides again.
Well, of course, also it looks like that they are getting some bear bond to
This incident at turn 15 is under review.
And, of course, as you heard from race control, the incident is under review. Now they're going to put the car on quick checks. So this is going to be a lengthy pit stop for the 253. And, of course, with it being a 35-minute sprint race, pit stop's obviously not a good thing here in the series.
Well, that is a real shame that they can't carry on like they did in that first race. They performed so well up at the front. Blend actually took a victory, was very, very pleased with himself. I'm sure the opposing emotions going to overwhelm him on this one, knowing that he was in a very good position before it all unfolded very early in this race, honestly.
And safety crew has now reached the 245 of Blend. So with 5 minutes into this session, it's Jared Thomas, Paul Bocuse, and Ashley Freiberg, your top three. Castro's running 30, trying to make a pass at Bocuse for second in that first lap, Joe, but he got past defended by Bocuse and got passed by Freiberg. So you got JTR, two MDK cars, and the Kelly Moss guest driver in 4th place. Joel Johnson, your leader in Masters. Paul Atwater, Mark Bowden round out your podium there. Charlie Peter, look at that. The 166 in 8th place. You know, we were talking about Pikes Peak with Lonnie Unser. Peter's driver coach is Merle Swan. And we had a chance to talk to him over the weekend, and I've known Merle for years. He has a Swift 016, so the last Swift Atlantic to ever run in professional competition. He modified that to run that at Pikes Peak and ran it up there last year.
Here we see Scott Blend's car. Looks like it's going to be towed off to the side. There is a nice, easy access road there for the Ruckus Racing car to just be kind of tucked away. So hopefully it shouldn't take too long. They did pull a flatbed up there. I wouldn't think they'd need to get it on there. You just kind of pull it out to the opening.
You would think that they would pull it out of the way. Tony Melito on pit road.
All right, everyone, we need car 166 in front of the 246 for a pass as we went yellow. 166, please pass the 246.
Who must have swapped spots accidentally after the yellow.
And that happens.
Yeah.
So the car that actually was off course just before we went yellow was the 216 of John Manchip. So buttoning that up from a couple of laps ago.
So we've got an interesting situation for Johnson, Atwater, Bowden. Atwater was on the podium last time, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. So this isn't too abnormal for him. But Joel Johnson, an opportunity to take a class win today.
All right, everyone, car 245 is being loaded on the rollback.
And, of course, Morgan Healy led us. So what they did, the safety crew did, they pulled Scott Blend off the grass and they're going to hook him back up on the rollback. So it'll be another couple of laps before that we get everything back together.
Yeah, they're going to have to try and finish up this cleanup before we can get
the order is correct.
Racing, of course. But looks like they're well underway on that one. Peter and Meissner still separated by a couple cars. Of course, once the 166 swaps position, that's going to increase it yet more and give Niels more that he has to try and slice his way through to compete.
So we're still under full course yellow as the field works their way through. Jared Thomas getting some time to think about how he can keep Bocuse and Freiberg at bay.
Well, as they continue under yellow conditions here, it's not just Charlie, Peter, and Niels Meissner that are on the podium for our 991s. Francisco de Jesus is the next one back. However, Meissner's in 11th overall, whereas if you go back to 25th, that's where de Jesus is. There is a lot of cars between them, so we're thinking it'll be unlikely that those will change positions unless something dramatic happens to the 166 or the 152. But Jared Thomas leading once again. Remember, he had an excellent race, an excellent 2 races back at Sebring, getting himself the win both times in the Pro-Am. And Bocuse was not able to run him down and pass him. Freiberg on the podium potentially here once again. She missed out on it in race 1, unable to get herself up to spray the champagne. This is going to allow her the chance to try and correct that, unless Castro can manage to overtake her in the second half of this race.
Well, Joe, while we have a little bit of a break, we want to welcome in the driver of the number 4 Speedway Motorsports Cayman, Lonnie Unser. And I was reminded that this 1 year ago today, you made your debut here in the booth as a color commentator.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so special to be here because I worked really hard all last year to put together this deal. So to be here after finishing a race today and then I get to join you guys up in the booth is really, truly
All right, everyone, car 245 is being loaded on the rollback. Soon to depart the scene. Let's safety.
Okay, so I'd say another 1 or 2 laps before we get back underway. We've got 25 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. And it's great to have you up here because you just came off the track. So tell us, what are the conditions like out there for these drivers?
So it was interesting for us in the Caymans because the IndyCar rubber, the Firestone rubber, really made the track a little bit slippier for us.
Okay, that's what I was figuring because I noticed drivers, it seemed through Charlotte's Web turn 5, if you're trying to make a pass, you would want to go more on the middle of the groove and try and get that better grip where the inside of the groove, that's where you had the problems.
Yeah, that's where the passing happens in turn 5 there. That's where you make all of your moves. It's really hard to pass any other spots of this racetrack, but I know drivers do it all of the time. But if you're battling really hard and you're competing against a car that is equal to your same speed, that's really where you're going to see the passing happen.
So field working their way once again, and I've got to say, you had a fantastic battle all race long with Matt Joffe. That had to be a masterclass for you in racecraft to see, okay, where's he faster, where am I faster, where can I try and get him?
Yeah, absolutely, and kudos to Matt. It was an awesome race, and I think we showed that how racing should be done. We raced hard, we raced close, and it was a true pleasure.
All right, so as we try and get the field underway here shortly, we just got a couple of laps left to go as we're watching the field work underway. It's still Jared Thomas ahead of Paul Bocuse, Ashley Freiberg, and Efren Castro, your top 4. Then you go to 261 of Peter Atwater, who is your 992 Masters leader. Then Joel Johnson, Charlie Peter in the 166. Mark Bowden, the 246, John Gilliland, the 298, Jake Peterson in the 285. Round out your top 10.
And Lonnie, I'm curious because this is cutting into a lot of the race time. Do you feel that pressure in the car when you have so much less time to try and do what you need to do out there?
For some drivers, this caution is nice. For other drivers, they're kind of scared about this caution because this is the time where you can make your move. Especially on a track that may be a little bit more difficult to pass in, getting that jump on the restart can really be to your advantage here.
All right, so it's 22 minutes and 46 seconds plus 1 lap remaining. It's Jared Thomas and Paul Bocuse as well as Ashley Freiberg, your top 3.
Well, they're getting ready for this restart, and we'll see if Jared Thomas can continue to run away as he has for much of the race. They exit out of the final turn now. Plunging towards turn 1. Green flag is out. Thomas trying to see if he can get away from the 271 of Bocuse. He's not in position to try and attack down into turn 1. Freiberg also a little bit too far back to do anything on this first attempt. In fact, it seems pretty much spread out on this restart. Nobody able to get the jump.
Well, and of course, you got to give it a couple of corners for these cars to make something happen. As Freiberg closing in on Bocuse as she's about 1 to 2 car lengths behind. But also watch out for that 227 of Joel Johnson. Lonnie, you pointing something out there in turn 5.
Yeah, that's Niels. He is part of the Kelly Moss racing team. I believe he's running second in the 991 class. We just saw him make an awesome pass on the inside of 5.
Yeah, Niels Meissner trying to get it around the inside. His other teammate, Jake Peterson. Let's talk about Jake real quick because this is his first race and sprint challenge. What's he going up against right now?
You know, it's really tough to hop in a series that you don't know any of the other drivers. As you go throughout the series, you're always trying, or the season I should say, you're always trying to learn your other competitors to see what their habits are to make a jump on somebody else. So for him to hop in this season and do what he's doing here is pretty quite impressive.
I got to say this, Joe. What's interesting is Bocuse is keeping Thomas honest. Last time at the start, we saw Thomas just run away and hide like a rabbit, but nonetheless, he's keeping Thomas close within his sights.
Well, and I think that's probably intentional. Paul knows that he can't allow him to get away because once he gets a gap, it seems like it's almost game over, and he just keeps stretching it out and stretching it out. So Paul wants to try and keep that pressure on. Well, it might not be likely that he can get a mistake out of the 296. You got to use whatever tools you have in your belt.
Well, the points leader still looking mighty strong as the top 5 all strung out. We still got the 261 of Peter Atwater making his way, trying to get the lead in the Masters class. And now we're starting to see the drivers go deeper into the corner. Niels Meissner trying to get around Johnson as we see Chiacchetti going to the inside of Womack. Chiacchetti had some problems this weekend in turn 5, and he looks like he's put that behind him as he makes the pass for overall position.
And that was actually Peterson going by Meissner with a dive down the inside. Now that's a 992 versus a 991, so they're not fighting within the same class. In fact, Peterson really needs to hustle because the next car up is Efren Castro in 4th. Jake is 11th, well now 10th overall.
As now we see Jared Thomas stretch out to another healthy lead. It was 0.6 of a second last time by. I would say it's at least double with that on the back straightaway. Lottie, with a track that you've got to really time your passes and make them, what's it like when you can actually know you can get ahead of your competitor on some of those more technical parts?
Absolutely. You have to set up your pass 3-4 corners ahead of when you plan to make the pass. So it's really a high-speed game of chess. What Ashley is looking to do right now is she's trying to put pressure on Bocuse so she can set him up, hopefully going into turn 5.
Sewell trying to hold off for position. That is
that was Vitiello.
Vitiello, yeah.
Make a move, yeah.
And that's not for position. But also, I want to watch this battle for third place in the Masters between the 246 of Mark Bowden and the 298 of John Gilliland. Gilliland didn't have the best of all weekends at Sebring. He's really making up for it, though he is falling back just a little bit on the track.
Yeah, and I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, yesterday as well, Gilliland had a few troubles out there, but seems to be managing well, while the 297 goes side by side, and in fact goes way wide out of Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, that's a battle for overall position between Eric Lapp of the 297 and the 210 of Jody Miller, both trying to capitalize on a better race, but still it's a class of the field. Jared Thomas out front as we see Meissner trying to hold off Conrad Geis or Mike Mim. Mike Mim, as we said, he has run in multiple races. He's run. He started off in PCA, then came race with us at Cayman. He was P2 in Pro-Am last season, then ran the Germany Cayman. He was champion in his class. Southern Europe, and now he's back here. He into the 992s. He said it's an easy transition, and let's talk about that, Lonnie. The transition with the new Cayman. How much more smoother is it to go into a 992 from the Cayman?
You know, the new Cayman RS sets you up really, really well for going into the 992 because both cars, you really have to drive hard. You have to give everything out of them. They like to be on the ragged edge. They like to be a little bit loose coming out of corners, and they both behave pretty similarly. So to make that step up to the 992 is really quite perfect from the Cayman RS.
Let's talk about your program so far this season. You've had a couple teething problems, but nonetheless, you're doing quite well in being adverse to them, but you're also racing quite well. You seem like every session you get just a little bit faster learning that 714.
Yeah, absolutely. This season has been awesome, and I'm really, really excited to see what the rest of the season holds for me because I haven't sprint raced in a little bit of time, so getting used to bringing that aggression level up has taken a little bit longer than I'd care to.
All right, so we see the 121 De Jesus back into the pits, and I've got to ask this. We've been asking a lot of drivers this. Are you going to be running the Endurance Championship at COTA?
I don't have any plans to, just because the budget doesn't allow, but trust me, I would love to.
Joe, what are you seeing out there?
Well, they're talking to the driver, and they don't seem to be really doing anything to the car or inspecting anything. Now, finally, someone kind of jumps up to the front and is working on the right-hand side, the right corner. Looks like maybe they're just brushing some of the gunk off of the grill for the radiator. In the meantime, there might be maybe an electrical issue because it looks like they are working with the wheel.
It does look like it because I did see...
Turn one. We've got car 298 off drivers right at turn 1.
Okay, so Gilliland's off course drivers right at turn 1. Got a stationary yellow there. That's
Car
been...
298 is far in the gravel off drivers right exit of turn 1. He has refired. May attempt to continue.
May attempt to continue, and that's an important point because Lonnie, though, I don't know if you had a chance to inspect the gravel trap, but the pebbles are big. So for an open-wheel car, that's fine. You can get through. But for a heavier car like the Porsches, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get out.
You know, I was just going to say that. Unfortunately, a couple years ago, I found myself in that gravel trap, and it is not
car
easy to get out of. And it
you are our
sounds
leader,
like,
car
it
296.
is
Safety
maybe
car
going
speed,
full course
please. We are
Yeah,
full
so-
course yellow, everyone.
So we're going to go to our second full course yellow of the race, and the one person that doesn't like this is Jared Thomas because now, well, of course, Jared, we've seen what he can do, but now
Once again,
he
we are
is
full course yellow, everyone. Car 296. Safety car
he's
speed,
really
please.
good at trying to get up near the front.
You know, this is a great opportunity for Ashley Freiberg, Paul Bocuse, who is behind Jared Thomas, and then Efren Castro.
Track
We saw a
services
really
is
great
arriving on
race
scene.
between Freiberg, Bosque, and Efren yesterday,
Yep.
and so I think they're going to put on a great show for us.
Okay, now we did see that Jared Thomas warming up his tires. What's the temperature
All right,
difference in
296,
these
let's get the safety
Yokohamas?
car by, please. Let's get the safety car.
What is the tire difference in this Yokohamas between running at speed and running at safety car speed?
Yeah, you know, what I love about these Yokohama tires is they stay up to temperature pretty well. But you still need to really work on the cautions to keep the tires up to temperature, because if you don't do that and you go back to the restart, then you're going to really have a hard time with grip. So these drivers should feel busy and tired during the caution because they're doing all they can to keep those tires warm.
And it also helps too with the elevation changes. You can easily keep the tires warm just a little bit harder, a little bit easier.
Yeah, it certainly would help, but what really, really helps is hitting the brakes a lot, weaving back and forth. But you also have to be careful with weaving back and forth because now there's a lot of rubber down on this racetrack, and you don't want to weave so much that you're picking up any of that rubber. So that's also something that's really important to look at while we're seeing our drivers on our full course caution.
Joe, this is the first time this season that these drivers will have to go through a second restart in such short succession, as well as DeJesus back underway.
All right, car 298 is being liberated from the gravel. Car 298, if you are able to continue, let's
liberated.
keep that gravel
Yes, I was
off
just going to say,
the
I
racing
guess,
line.
tyranny of the kitty litter.
Anarchy. Someone sang about that recently. I think it was Green Day singing about that. But nonetheless, great colorful language from our race control here with USAC. Unfortunately, it's sad that some people didn't get a chance to hear Bo Barfield, the race director of Radical Cup North America, yesterday with some very colorful language for drivers not passing under a full course yellow. But nonetheless, once we get this car underway, they're probably going to have to do some sweeping because that gravel trap is pretty deep in turn one. Joe, you and I were able during the track walk to inspect this couple of things, and that's one thing that I inspected was the gravel trap because with that...
Right, everyone, car 298 is continuing on its own power.
So he's continuing under his own power. But back to my point, you want to see what you're dealing with there because a lot of that gravel trap in turn one is very inviting, Joe.
Yeah, we often hear drivers talk about risk versus reward, and you need to know what the risk is.
Yeah.
And if going a little bit wide means you can just kind of lose some lap time, then of course you're going to try and risk it. If it means potentially ending your race, no, maybe you should keep it at 95% instead of 100%.
Jared Thomas, your leader, the 296. That's Paul Bocuse in the 271. Ashley Freiberg in the 222. She sits third. Efren Castro sits fourth. Your Masters leader, Joel Johnson, is in fifth. Sixth place right now. The Peter Atwater, seventh. Give a hand to Charlie Peter in the 166.
Safety car lights out. You are in
And
this
we are
time,
going to go
in this
green
time.
here
Lights out,
next
please.
time by. So green flag next time by as the safety car will be coming in. Back rounding out the rest of the top 10, Mark Bowden, the 246, the 8th, 9th, Jake Peterson. So
The incident between cars 298 and 285 and 298 at turn 1 is under review.
Okay, so that was
That's Peterson.
Peterson. Okay, so as I say, Peterson might be losing some spots here from his 9th place in the 285. Niels Meissner sitting in 10th place.
Yeah, it sounds like there was an incident that may be under review that
Yep.
caused that full course caution between the two drivers. So we should be hearing a word on that here in a moment.
And we'll get that information from race control here momentarily. 11 minutes left on the clock. All right, you're coming to the restart. What are your thoughts, Lonnie?
You want to get the advantage. So you can start passing as soon as that green flag flies. So you're waiting for your team to give you the radio. You're trying to look as far ahead at that flag stand as you possibly can, all the while looking at the back of the car in front of you, so you can get that jump. This is where a lot of the passing is going to happen, especially on a track, like I said, that's a little bit more difficult to pass in nature. So this should be pretty good. Hopefully we get to see everybody get through there cleanly, though.
Field working their way around the final couple of corners. Single file restart. Jared Thomas got to make some more work as he picks up his speed. Comes into the restart zone. Green flag is out once again as we're bunched up just a little bit. Charlie Peter looks like he's going to try and make some position against Peter Atwater, but thinks better of it going into turn 1.
So Atwater not able to do anything with it that time. Remember, they're fighting for the lead in the Masters. Joel Johnson just barely
The
ahead of
incident
that
between cars
261.
298 and 285 at turn 1 has been reviewed. Pit official with car 285. Drive-through penalty for incident responsibility. Car 285, drive-through.
So that's Peterson who's going to have to go and serve that one, which means with everybody bunched up with all these yellows, he is probably going to fall to the back of the lead lap as more drivers going wide off of turn 6.
Yeah, so we'll see that pass through within the next couple of laps as Field making their way. Oh, little side by side.
Holy cow!
Big problem as Jake Peterson goes upside down.
Stopped at the pit entry, everyone.
As we have a
car stopped at the pit entry.
Big issue. We got car stopped at the pit entry. Peterson, Endo into the gravel trap. Full course yellow. Thumbs up for Jake Peterson as he is A-OK.
That was quite the roll. I mean, on top of it, it's never good when the car winds up on its lid, but that is a huge hill, so it probably had momentum. It did it a couple times, no doubt. And that was out of our sight, so we had no idea until we got this on board.
Yeah, that is good news. He is waving to the corner workers, letting him know that he is okay. And look, even has time to adjust his mirror. But you got to say that is such a good as Charlie Peter trying to make passes. What is going on here?
Everyone, we are full course yellow, guys. We are full course yellow.
I don't think that was supposed to
car
happen.
go now
What
for the
a
296
race
is your leader.
That pass there we just saw on the front straightaway.
Yeah, Morgan.
That may have been a mistake by Charlie Peter there.
Let's keep race control audio up because this sounds like something that we may hear from race director John Maskey because he made a comment in qualifying, which unfortunately we did not have that. But I talked to him about it because I heard it, and I said,
all right, everyone, the safety car is going to be working his way up to the front of the field. Thank you.
And there we go. The safety car is there as we see the 196 backing off once again.
All right, everyone, we have received a thumbs up from the driver of the 285.
A mistake by Charlie Peter there. He must have not realized that full course caution came out,
services is en
so
route
he
to him
gave
now.
his position back that he did gain.
Well, and here's the thing I have to ask you as well. IndyCar has the light boards, the new light boards, which we've seen all across the country. Do you guys have those for your races or no?
We have this really cool in-car system where it shows us when a full course caution comes out, when our yellow flags come out. So really, I mean, it's quite hard to miss, to be honest. And I just wanted to mention from this incident with Jake Peterson, you know, that was going into turn 8 as we saw, and turn 8 is a notoriously difficult place to pass.
Quite a bit of debris down in
room
turn 8
to get through that museum corner. So I'm just so glad Jake Peterson's okay. He gave us the thumbs up. That was very good to see.
And a huge mention to Porsche as well for building such a stout race car to where he can roll over. It looked like at least the start was really violent. Of course, you have two factors there. One, he got hit on the crest of the corner, and two, he was rolling going downhill as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was just a passenger along for the ride. You know, I don't want to make any speculations, but we'll have to look at the pass again to see what had happened. But man, I'm just so glad that these Porsches are so safe because he gave us the thumbs up. He's fixing the mirrors. He's all good. Hopefully the car isn't too damaged.
And now safety is at the 285. So, Joe, you wanted to make a point as well.
Well, I was, and now I had lost it. Oh, no, now I remember.
Okay, there we
go. This is his first race of the season, too. He had to miss Sebring, and he was talking to me about that and how he was glad to be a part of this now that they had gotten the program together. And this is probably going to set it back significantly because there's no way he got out of that with minimal damage on the car. So it's not a good way to start things. And if I'm recalling correctly, didn't he have to miss the very first race of the weekend as well, or am I
No, he
remembering?
was racing, I think, this weekend, right?
Yes, actually, I am not quite sure what happened, but all I know about Jake Peterson is he's a really accomplished musician.
Yes.
Which, that's probably why he's missing some races here and there. If you look up his stuff on social media, he's really quite incredible. So it's cool to see a man that can do both.
No, it really is. And with 5 minutes left to go, I think that barring any stoppage, we're going to have to end this one under full course yellow conditions, which is a shame because we had some great racing here, but Joe, it just goes to the old adage, cautions breed cautions, and we've seen a lot of those in GT3.
And it just goes to show that it doesn't matter how one race was.
All right, everyone, the order
we didn't
is
see a
under
single
review at this time. We do know the 166 will be receiving a post-race penalty.
All right,
Again,
so
the order is
That's
under review.
Peter.
That's no surprise, passing a bunch of cars under
All right,
yellow.
Track Services is on scene with a 285. The 285
You know, as a
is being
driver
pulled
with
from the
Charlie
gravel.
Peters' situation, you're going super hard and mistakes happen. And if that's the biggest mistake, I'm sure he's kicking himself. But I'll tell you one thing, he won't do that again. That's for sure, that pass under caution.
Is he driving that thing back?
That's almost a Dale Earnhardt-like thing. Let's see what happens here, because we saw the tilt bed. Let's
Well-
see if we can stick with this on the stream, because if he can drive it back, we're seeing shades of the 19. No, I think the safety crew is saying, no, you got to get out.
I kind of wondered because the way that he stayed in the car and fixed his mirror, I thought to myself, is he thinking he can try and drive that back to the pits?
Well, take a look at the upper right. He is unbelted, so I have a feeling that they're going to try and have him drive it towards the rollback.
That makes more sense.
I can't see the safety team. And, of course, I just got a text. Jake is a regular in Carrera Cup and just switched to Kelly Moss this weekend. He is due to race in Miami this week, so it's going to be a rush to get that car ready for the F1 weekend in Miami.
But, sometimes when you have a rollover situation like that, the damage might actually not be as bad as we think it could be because you don't have a hard front end or rear end impact. So hopefully all of the critical components can still stay in place, and I know Kelly Moss is going to do everything that they can to get him up and running. And also we kind of see this onboard camera here of him in the gravel trap. And we know that USAC loves to see racing, so they're doing everything they can to get it back under green flag conditions, but it may not happen just with the time that we have left. But they do a great job.
Well, we saw at Sebring also. I can't remember if it was your race or if it was a GT3 race where we had the green-white to try and get that race under green flag conditions.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying about USAC loving to watch racing and loving to allow these drivers to race, which as a race car driver, we all appreciate that. We want to be racing. We're just glad that the safety team did exactly what they need to do. We see Jake is out of the car walking and, he'll race another day.
Yeah, walking under his own power, which is huge.
All right, car 285 is being loaded on the rollback.
Yep, we're seeing that on the cameras now. That was Morgan Healy from Race Control just letting us know what's going on out there. And if Charlie Peter is getting this post-race penalty, and I can't imagine it's going to be a small one for passing under yellow, that means that Niels Meissner would inherit the win because he's not that far behind. There's only one car between them, and that's Mark Bowden from outside the class.
And, that will be a big help for Meissner in the 991 points lead. Not that he really needed it either because the fall line guys really a little bit further back, but still it's going to be interesting to see where Peter ends up, if he ends up still on the podium or if he ends up off the podium.
So actually, that's a good point. Let's check to see what the trickle-down effect is here. Tony Melito would be the next one down that could potentially inherit second in the 127, and then Thomas Herb in the 161 would wind up in third place. But we'll have to wait and see. That's kind of the temporary assessment that we can make since we don't know exactly how far down they're going to send Charlie.
Okay, so I don't think we're going to see any more racing. Well, we might. We might see one lap of racing because they are working to get the 285 off the track. Now, there are a couple of points that they can just pull it right off and run backdoor. And I do want to let you know here at the racetrack, even though you see an ambulance on course, doesn't necessarily mean the driver's hurt. This is typical protocol for big hits like this.
Absolutely. their priority is making sure the drivers are safe, and we're so appreciative of that. To see something like that, they will send an ambulance immediately, like you said. So although we saw him walk under his own power, they're going to still do some checkovers.
The order has been reviewed. Cars 166 and 275 will receive post-race pet. 166 and 270. 270 will receive penalties post-race for passes under yellow.
Oh, so that's Mike Mim with another penalty. Sorry, but go ahead with your fact.
Oh, I honestly...
We're talking about driver safety, yes.
My mind is tired because I just finished racing. No, so, yeah, they do everything they can. They're going to check and make sure he has no concussion symptoms. Just go give him a once-over because, you know, they care so much about the drivers, and safety is of the utmost importance to USAC, the safety team, everybody involved in these beautiful Porsches as well.
That is the voice of Lottie Unser. She's our driver analyst for this race. I'm Jeremy Scott, Joe Peak, and lights are still on the safety car, so yet to see if we're going to be able to go back racing. I didn't see any other
Starter, white flag. Next time by to your field, please.
So
white flag.
I think that'll be it because if I recall correctly, they said the lights will be out before turn 12.
Yes, so that was that was in the meeting, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's not going to be enough time to get the cars restarted, which is great for somebody like Jared Thomas. But, you know, of course, we're all drivers. They all want to race to the finish. But, you know, it's also quite nice for some of those who are sitting in that good position.
So the field comes down the front straightaway for the penultimate time as Ashley Freiberg going to dip out. White flag is out with the full course yellow conditions. And let's talk a little bit about what you're looking forward to this year. Are you still trying to see if you can find some extra funding to maybe do these endurance races?
Man, the endurance races that USAC is putting on sound like such a blast. So for sure, I am looking for that extra funding to do that, because to race 2 1-hour endurance races with a teammate would be amazing. And then 6 hours for the last endurance race. I come from a lot of endurance racing.
Right.
The last couple years, I have been endurance racing. I love both for many different reasons, but endurance racing is really cool because it totally brings that team aspect into racing, even more so than it already is here. Pit stops become more crucial. Working really hard alongside your teammate becomes really crucial. And it's a fun form of racing, and I'm just really glad to see USAC bringing that into play.
All right, so let's do this, Joe. What are your thoughts if we can't get her? If she can't get a car at Austin for the Endurance Championship, or bring her back up in the booth?
I would love
that.
that.
Yeah, if you're game for that.
Yeah, yeah, I'll sit up here for 6 hours. I'll watch some good racing. I love watching good racing from the cockpit and from up here, anywhere. I love this sport, so I'm game.
I was saying, between your dad, your uncle, your entire family, you know, you guys got great racers regardless. So it's this has been it's great to see you develop this year as you're trying to learn this Porsche. So any chance you're going to take that up to Pikes Peak this year?
Well, I have some really cool plans for Pikes Peak. I'm not allowed to share them yet.
Oh,
I like the sound of that.
I think we're all going to be pretty excited to see what I get to run up Pikes Peak this year. And I'm excited to do so in a fantastic car.
Fantastic. Cannot wait to see that, because we've seen some cool cars run up Pikes Peak these past couple of years, even some that have been rumored to run up as well. So I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the field works their way across the final couple of corners. Not the way you want to end a race, but nonetheless, looks like everybody is going to come home safe as the field works their way down. Jared Thomas makes it 4 for 4 on the season. Checker flag is out. He is your winner as he almost passes the pace car. Paul Bocu sits in second. Ashley Freiberg third. In the Masters, it's Joel Johnson, Peter Atwater, and Mark Bowden rounding out your podium. Provisionally.
All right, everyone, the post-race penalties to cars 166 and 270. Drive-through penalties being converted to time equivalent. These penalties will be applied onto the timing screens. You'll see the accurate results momentarily, and those accurate podium cards will be announced.
Okay,
Stand by, everyone.
so we have the bump. Okay, so we see Niels Meissner. Niels Meissner is your winner in the 991 class. Tony Melito and Tom Herb are round out your podium. And being under full course yellow, Joe, that really hurts for Charlie Peter.
It stings, and he gets pretty much the absolute worst of it. But, I mean, it's a serious infraction. It's kind of a slam dunk thing. So he only has himself to blame on it. It'll be a hard lesson learned, but a lesson nonetheless. Also, Joel Johnson, Peter Atwater, and Mark Bowden, your Masters podium in the 992s. So there's going to be some happy drivers, and there's going to be a few licking their wounds as they leave this weekend.
All right, Joe, we're going to let you go here shortly, but final thoughts on the weekend.
Final thoughts, that was more excitement than I even expected, honestly. Especially, I didn't think we'd have a rollover here today, but it's unfortunate that we didn't have as much racing, green flag racing, as we wanted in the GT3 Cups. It was a stark contrast to the full green flag run in the first race of the weekend. So I'd say we got the full gamut of emotions, and I can't have much against that.
Joe, see you in a month.
You know what? I think it's so cool that Porsche Sprint Challenge has such big fields like this.
Yeah.
We see such good racing out here today and yesterday. It's so cool because it's very, very competitive out there. So all of these drivers, including myself, have to be on our A game. So huge kudos to USAC and Porsche Sprint Challenge for that.
And Lonnie, let's give your thoughts also of the weekend and tell people how they can follow you on social media, because you've got a lot going on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I thought the weekend was awesome. It's such a pleasure to be with Kelly Moss running the Speedway Motors #4 machine. And you can follow me anywhere at Lonnie Unser. And it was such a pleasure to be up here in the booth with you guys calling the GT3 Cup car race.
Well, you're always invited to join us as always. Thank you for being a part of the show, and thank you for watching here at Barber Motorsports Park or on YouTube or on Flow Racing. For the entire broadcast crew, we thank you very much for watching. I'm Jeremy Scott, Joe Peak, Lonnie Unser, our special guests up here. If you are leaving us at Barber Motorsports Park, please drive safe. We want to see you here next time. Moto America will be here in a couple of weeks, but we're done here for the Children's of Alabama Grand Prix. Thanks for joining us. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you down the road. Bye for now.